Good morning, everyone. The Pizza Buffet is live for week 2, presented by FanDuel. I'm Rob Pizzola. I'm the pro sports bettor, CEO of The Hammer. I do want to take a couple minutes off the top to let people file into the stream per usual. Grab a coffee, whatever else you do on Sunday mornings. Tell me what your card looks like for today, and I'm going to lay out how the show is going to run today. Good to see a lot of the regular crew, Free 88, James C., Sam Sneed, Scott, even G-Stack George in here this morning. Good morning to everyone. A quick reminder, this is not an excuse. I'm going to say it every single week just to get the point across, especially for new viewers. Sundays are tough for sides and totals. I'm looking at the board right now. Some books are already writing six-figure bets at this point. So edges are much thinner. Again, not an excuse. That's just reality. Over the last 5 years, the vast majority of my bets are locked in by Friday or earlier. So if you want to get ahead next week, we got plenty of early week content here on Forward Progress that will help you time the market a little bit better. Just don't fall into the trap of unloading on a bunch of games this morning or on Sunday mornings in general. Last week overall was pretty decent. I would say directionally correct on a lot more games than not. Props were rough for me, though. I went 4-6 on the show overall. It actually wasn't the best week on the props front for me overall. So I'll look to clean that up today, hopefully. The format's going to be the same as always. I'll give my thoughts on every game on the slate. You'll see a graphic with my numbers for each matchup. Somebody DM'd me last week, and they're like, stop rounding to the nearest half point. Just give me like your raw numbers. Fine, I did that this week for you. Don't remember exactly who it was, but I did that. I'll tell you what I like, what I don't. I'll mix in a prop look. If I like a prop in that game, as long as it hasn't moved while we're live. If I give a prop, you can always assume it's widely available. Always shop for the best number. Check FanDuel first, our presenting sponsor. They'll often have the best price in market, especially for some that I'm going to give out today. And of course, this show works when you're a part of it. I keep my phone to the side here. I don't look at it. There's a bunch of questionables today. If you see breaking news, drop it in the chat. I want your opinions on every game as well. Fire away. I'll weave your notes into the flow of the show this morning. Good morning, Redacted Gambler. Great to see you as well. Drew, Mike Montoro, thank you very much for the compliments on the shirt. I'm a big Trivium fan myself. Before we get into it, if you can, like the stream, sub to the channel, share this with a friend. It all helps a ton with the YouTube algorithm. They're looking for new content to push. Give them a reason to push Pizza Buffet and Forward Progress to everyone else out there. Thank you very much. Let's get into it. If you're new, welcome. You're in the right place. Everyone who's back here for another week, appreciate it. Already love this comment from Xshesh. Sorry, Xshesh, I can never pronounce your name. Russell Wilson, questionable ass. Yeah, he's not very good. We'll get into it. Joey, primetime streams, I'll talk about that a little bit later on as well. All right, let's start things off here. Jacksonville Jaguars at the Cincinnati Bengals. Taking a look at the market for this game, and looks like it's pretty settled in at Cincy minus 3.5 across the board. Some spots we're seeing a 4. Total's been all over the place, but it has been bet back down as well to 49.5. Again, a little back and forth on this game with the market. Jacksonville pretty healthy on the injury report. Cincy missing some guards. They were already without their left guard. They lost Lucas Patrick last week, so both guards are down for them. I personally think the Bengals are a bit undervalued here, even with the interior O-line issues for them. We've seen this market shade Jacksonville up. I think there's a lot of optimism, but I still have a lot of concerns about their pass protection. I'm not sure that Cincy's like the perfect team to exploit that, but they do have Trey Hendrickson. That helps them on the defensive line. I'm also just mildly concerned that the Jags offense is not what we think it's going to be. Decent numbers against the Carolina Panthers last week. They really didn't have to do much. They didn't stretch the field a whole ton. A lot was underneath. You look at Travis Hunter's targets, a lot of that was short. And if this comes into like a matching scores type of game, I know what the Bengals offense looked like last week, but I'm not convinced that it's going to look like that going forwards, right? Joe Burrow's dud in Cleveland, that's pretty on brand for Joe Burrow against Cleveland. It's been a house of horrors him for a while. This is a much friendlier setup. Jacksonville's better versus the run than the pass, but they really allow you to operate in the short and intermediate areas. And I think Cincy can really live by chaining together these first downs with Higgins, Jamar Chase, slants, ins, Chase Brown in the screen game. Jacksonville's been very leaky to running back targets historically as well. So I get it. Jacksonville has weapons. It's week 2 of the season. I think we're definitely playing a guessing game with a lot of these teams right now, but I'm not quite ready to put these teams in the same range that the market is putting these teams into. So I'm not, where I'm at, around -4. You're not getting a super valuable number at -3.5. Again, it's Sunday. Would I bet it at this point? That's a tough call. Directionally, I lean under as well, which is kind of insane when I consider the Bengals as a whole. I think profile is a big over team, but I think a lot of what I'm coming up with here is the fact that I think Jacksonville is going to try to limit explosives as much as possible in this game. So that's where I'm at there, Cincy and Jacksonville. Joey asks about Brenton Strange over 33.5. I have nothing going on with Brenton Strange. Bung Magoo, this is actually the prop look I was going to give out for this game. I played some Burrow completions over 24.5. -128 at FanDuel is actually best in market right now. I do like that one quite a bit. Again, I very much see this as an opportunity for the Bengals to methodically march down the field. And with the guards missing, I do think that there is going to be a penchant or an appetite to try to get the ball out a little bit quicker there. Sammy M says Liam Cohen versus Zach Taylor. We're not sure that Cohen is any good yet, if we're being completely honest. We're sure that Taylor's not, but not sure that Cohen is just at this point. So that's where I'm at on this one. Apologies for the mouse clicking throughout the show. I had to get rid of my silent mouse, but you're just going to have to deal with it today as I click around from screen to screen a million times here over the course of this morning. Okay, next up, New England at Miami. I'll be honest, I did not expect this market movement either. Yesterday, we saw a pretty convincing move towards the Dolphins. There's been a little bit of buyback at maybe one sharp book, but as it stands right now, Miami's laying 2.5 across the board, 2.5 -105 at FanDuel. Total in the game is sub 44, which is a key number for totals. It is at 43.5 right now. There's definitely one injury I would want to monitor this morning, and I have not seen anything yet in regards to Morgan Moses, who's the right tackle for the New England Patriots. He's been dealing with a foot injury. He had 2 limited practices on Thursday and Friday. I think he's like a true questionable, but that's one that I would want to keep an eye on. Christian Gonzalez remains out for New England, obviously their top cornerback. But it's on the other side where Miami just has a ton of injuries. Darren Waller, Jalen Wright, offensive line, Austin Jackson, James Daniels. Both those guys look like they're going to IR. I think Daniels already did go to IR, so that's the right side of their O-line. Benito Jones on the defensive line. You got corners Ethan Bonner and Storm Duck, who are out. Kader Kohu, Cam Smith, Artie Burns are already on IR. So I'm really fascinated by this move. I think there's definitely an appetite for people to play on the team that got smoked last week and way underperformed relative to expectations. And I think no team in the league did that more than the Miami Dolphins. They were horrible. And I think there's reason to believe that this could potentially be a bounce back spot for them. And normally I would be inclined to agree if they weren't so damaged on both sides of the ball. And because of that, I mean, directionally, I'm pretty heavily towards the New England Patriots. I absolutely do not agree that Drake May sucks. I've seen that a couple times in the chat this morning. I don't love the system and what's built around Drake May, but I would definitely take him as a quarterback over Tua at this point. But yeah, whether it's the bounce back narrative, you got the hot weather angle, 86 degrees in Miami today. For the Canadians, it's 30 Celsius, pretty hot. You got one team roasting on the sideline the entire game. Historically, I think Miami's had a much bigger home field advantage early on in the season in some of these instances. But again, my numbers lean pretty heavily to the Patriots. It really just comes down to the clusters for Miami, right? The corners and the offensive line. The Patriots don't really need to be explosive to move it here. They just need Drake May to hit basically routine throws, right? Hunter Henry on some choice routes. Use Travion Henderson's receiving to stress Miami's second level as well. New England quietly threw at one of the highest rates in the NFL last week. And a lot of that was in neutral game states. And Miami just allowed like a lot of yards per attempt from Daniel Jones. So as long as May protects the ball and, Josh McDaniels devises a not terrible game plan, I think the Patriots have a path to sustain drives. And you flip it, the Dolphins' offense is already out of rhythm last week. Now you're down multiple starting linemen, offensive linemen. Mike McDaniel, he can scheme like some answers. They use like a faster game, jet motion. They'll get Devon Achane out on the perimeter on some of these runs. But New England's front is decent. If you can get Tua off his first read, that's where a lot of the negative plays will come. So I'm just not here. It would be, I don't know. I can't really get to this price. So definitely Patriots or nothing for me in this particular game. I did believe the Patriots are pretty overvalued heading into the season as a whole. But after 1 week, one of these teams is completely decimated. So I'm, not really sure what to do with this one. From a prop perspective, you'd probably be surprised at which player ran the most routes for Miami in week 1. It was actually Malik Washington. Part of that was Jaden Waddle had a shoulder injury. He's kind of banged up. He's still nursing a shoulder injury, and he's going to play. There's obviously some injury risk involved with that as well. I played some Malik Washington over in the receiving yards market. I believe before I came to air, he was around 23.5 in the minus 115 range. I thought that was a little bit low for the amount of routes that he ran in week 1. Obviously, O-line injuries are a concern when you're betting player props passing, but that number seemed a bit low for me on that one. All right, appreciate all the commentary in the chat. Lots of stuff going down here this morning, and a lot of people disagreeing, which is always good. I think it's healthy to have those types of conversations. Third game on the board, rotation number order. We have the Saints hosting the 49ers. Definitely some injury stuff to monitor for this game. And I, again, haven't seen anything yet. So if you do see it, just drop it into the chat. I was looking right before the show. The biggest concerns on the San Fran side, the biggest concern is going to be Trent Williams, their left tackle. Did not look good last week. He's been limited all week with a knee injury. But we know that Trent Williams makes a pretty massive difference for this offense. Jawan Jennings dealing with that shoulder injury. He is expected to play, but no George Kittle. Obviously, the receiving core is without Ayuk, Demarcus Robinson. Brock Purdy is out. Mac Jones is going to start. So San Fran dealing with a lot. For New Orleans, Trevor Penning is out on the O-line. You also want to monitor the status of their right tackle, Tyrese Fuaga. He has a knee injury. Defensively, Chase Young out, Julian Blackmon out. So we almost saw this get down to 2.5 yesterday. I will say that whenever you have these types of games in the market where one team is dealing with a significant number of injuries, substantial cluster injuries to skill position players, potentially O-line, quarterback change, I think it's really hard to price those types of games. And you do tend to see people all over the place with their pricing of those. I understand all the issues going on with the 49ers here, but I'll be careful with what I say because I don't want it to be taken out of context. I think the downgrade from Purdy to Mac Jones within the 49ers offense is less than the market believes. I'm not a Mac Jones guy. I don't think he's very good, but I think so much of what the 49ers offense does is scheme. I think that you give Kyle Shanahan enough time to prep for these amounts of losses, and there's still a lot of things that they can do offensively. Like Christian McCaffrey versus this Saints front is a very clean edge. New Orleans gave up some chunk groundwork to Arizona last week. Shanahan can manufacture yards after catch for guys like Ricky Pearsall, for the running backs. Really, you just need Jones to be accurate enough in like the intermediate routes and the short routes to keep the chains moving. Defensively, San Fran, I'm high on them. Not personnel-wise. I do believe in certain coordinators being certain, good fits for certain teams. Robert Saleh back in San Fran had that defense humming last week. This is a pretty low ceiling Saints offense, right? Like Spencer Rattler was fine last week, but if you're going to potentially be down 2 starters on the O-line, Nick Bosa can wreak some havoc. If the Saints are constantly in second and long, you're now asking Rattler to throw into like a very disciplined zone that disguises their rotations. I don't think that's a great recipe for success. So I played some San Fran. I gave it out on Thursday on the Best Bet show as my triple hammer. Had I known Trent Williams was not going to practice like an hour later, I probably wouldn't have done that. But I am on San Fran here. I do think that there's value with them at the current number. Just understand that there is, definitely some market resistance on this game. Brink says, Juszczyk, anytime touchdown. I was going to give out Juszczyk over receiving yards before we came to air, and that just got steamed into oblivion. So I'm not going to do that. I've seen a few people mention, like MRM here, playing San Fran alternates. I have done that. I have played some extreme alternates as well, up to minus 14.5 in this game. So I get a lot of that. And I guess I'm in agreement with a lot of stuff in the chat. If I had to pivot to another look that's not Juszczyk over in the receiving game, it would actually be Jake Tungus over on receptions. I think he's in like the minus 130 to minus 135 range at 1.5 receptions. He had never caught a ball before last week, and then he ended up with 3, including that really, really nice touchdown catch. But I would expect a little bit of everyone to be involved in this San Fran offense today. But definitely we want to keep an eye on Trent Williams. And I think that no matter what happens, whether he's announced in or out, we are going to potentially see some ticks here, maybe off of 3 if he is announced out before this game. Just quick thought on the total as well. I don't love when they come off key numbers. So 41 is a key number for totals. We're now down to 40.5 everywhere. I still think that's a tad too high. I guess if you were to take my overall opinion on the game, it would be similar to what Clive talked about on our Sunday reset last Sunday night, where he was looking at Saints team total under. So I think there's a lot of ways you can get creative with this one. Okay, before we move on, just a reminder, Forward Progress is brought to you by FanDuel. Football fans, the wait is over. The NFL's back. The best place to kick off the season is on FanDuel. And today, FanDuel is giving all customers a no-sweat NFL bet. You can do money line, player props, SGPs. Your no-sweat bet can be used on any NFL wager type. If it doesn't win, you get bonus bets back. You can use my plays. You can use anyone else's plays from Forward Progress. Your own doesn't matter. At this point in the day, tons of stuff. Thousands of options on the board. So this season, make FanDuel your go-to app for any snap. Visit FanDuel.com/forwardprogress. Kick off the NFL season with a no-sweat bet. Play your game with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. You must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino. 18 plus and present in D.C. 19 plus and physically located in Ontario, or 18 plus present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. Opt-in is required. Refund issued as a non-withdrawable bonus bet that expires 7 days after receipt. Max refund $5 unless otherwise specified. Restrictions apply, including token expiration. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. Call Connects Ontario at 1-866-531-2600 or visit connectsontario.ca. I think our stuff's actually getting served out on YouTube quite a bit today because the bots are in full effect in the chat. Been very busy with, which is really weird because you got to be subscribed like for at least 5 minutes to comment. So there we go. Brad says Jawan Jennings is playing, as does Ekshesh and Ecolt, warming up. So it seems like he's going to play. And all right, that's good news on the very least. Still waiting on Trent Williams. Cleveland, Baltimore, AFC North. There's one injury of note here I guess you got to keep your eye on. So Baltimore still without Isaiah Likely and their fullback, Patrick Ricard, which actually hurts them in the running game. Jack Conklin hurt his eye last week and left the game. Right tackle for the Cleveland Browns. Also dealing with an elbow injury. So 2 injuries. Practiced all week, limited. Seems to be a true questionable. That one's a pretty important one for the Cleveland Browns. I'm pretty neutral on the side, at least. I guess my numbers lean slightly to the over. I didn't bet anything in this game. The Browns defense under Jim Schwartz just body bagged Burrow again. Lamar is a different problem set altogether, obviously a lot more mobile, but Jim Schwartz's game plans against him have been pretty sticky over the years as well. They keep the rush lanes pretty disciplined. They flood the middle. They force checkdowns a lot. Now, Baltimore's offense was electric last week, pretty much by any metric. All the per play stuff, EPA success rates, a lot of that, I would have to say, is chalked up to quality of opponent and some busted coverages. The Browns front doesn't give up these freebies as often. They tackle better at the second level than Buffalo. So overall, definitely a step up. With that said, I think the Ravens' floor as an offense is extremely high at this point. Just really, really good running game. Obviously, Lamar at quarterback, top 5 in the league, top 3, some might argue even better than that. And the weapons have emerged. Zay Flowers is like slowly becoming, a true legit number 1. Cleveland's offense, I think, is the wild card for this game. Joe Flacco is pretty efficient outside of like the tipped interceptions last week. And that's all they really want out of him. Ball control, long drives, keep it one score, let the defense play. The Ravens are pretty good against runs, especially third downs, short runs, stuff like that. That's where Cleveland really struggled last year. So I think Stefanski needs to keep this team ahead of the sticks. Quick game, tight end usage, stuff like that. If Conklin goes, it helps a lot in sequencing a lot of these outside zone runs, play action, stuff like that. But if he's not, that's going to be an incredible challenge for them. So not much in terms of looks here. I will say DeAndre Hopkins got more run than I thought he would. He made that amazing catch last week in the end zone. I did play him over on receiving yards today. It was sub 20. I think it was 17 and a half, maybe 16 and a half. I prefer the receiving yards look to receptions because I do think that they're trying to stretch the field with him a little bit. So that's the prop look there. Outside of that, I really don't have much going on in this game other than using Baltimore and Survivor, about 30% of my entries. So I'll be rooting for that as well. Giants and Cowboys up next. Taking a look at the market here. So those 6s got bet pretty early this week. I think a lot of that was Deron Bland news. Market is pretty much settled at 5, although FanDuel's at 5.5 right now. And the total, not much movement here at 44.5. Giants are not getting Andrew Thomas back. That's big. They need him to return at some point. Just the offensive line is not great. Injuries on defense as well. Not the key players, but Micah McFadden went on IR. Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles is out. Raheem Nunez-Roches out on the defensive line. So there's a few there to keep an eye on. But the biggest injury is Deron Bland in this game, outside of Andrew Thomas not returning. Bland being out for a few weeks. The Cowboys are pretty thin at corner. Caleb Carson is also on IR. I personally thought the 6 on the Giants was valuable. I don't like to do like the transitive property week to week, but for those who do like it, right? Like Washington hosted the Giants last week and was a 6-point favorite, and you kind of had Dallas in the same spot. I get that. To me, it was more so key number. How much can you upgrade Dallas off of one game against the Eagles, where the Eagles showed nothing offensively? They ran very vanilla offense, still won the game. I don't know. It's really, really tough. But I'm interested to see like the slot matchups in this type of game for New York and whether or not this O-line can give Russ any time. Because like we forget, not that we forget, we just watched Micah Parsons wreak havoc on Thursday Night Football, but the talk of the Cowboys defense going into the year was that it's going to be an abomination of a defense. And then they kind of held the Eagles in check for a lot of the game. They shut down A.J. Brown, and the narrative is completely flipped there. And I think that they're much closer to being a bad defense than they are to being a league average defense. But Brian Daboll has to be very proactive. Quick game, sprint outs, lean on Tyrone Tracy, to punish anytime that the Cowboys give him a light box, stuff like that. Dallas has been very soft versus the run in recent years. Obviously, that's going to improve with Clark now in the middle, but the Giants, if they can get to manageable third downs here, I think they're very much in this game. Offensively, Cowboys looked sharp. for stretches against Philly, but this Giants front is a much stiffer interior than the Eagles playing without Jalen Carter for basically the entire game. And again, that's kind of forgotten. They played the Eagles defense, but they played them without Jalen Carter in the interior. So I think they'll plan to get CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens isolated on these corners. Wink Martin, the Giants defense is going to try to heat Dak as much as possible. If they can win enough early downs, I think they're very live. But this game has a huge, huge wide range of outcomes where Cowboys can blow them out. Giants could potentially win. From a prop look perspective, I do like Tyrone Tracy over in the receiving game. Whether you want to play receptions or receiving yards, Russ, it was just under a lot of duress against the Commanders last week. I don't think they utilized the running backs very well out of the backfield, and potentially that would be a point of emphasis. So, that's kind of the look that I really like for this game. At the current market numbers, I'm not sure you can do much with this. Cottage says, be proud, Rob. Cowboys offense looked tremendous. Listen, it's one game. They scored 20 points. Like, if that's a tremendous output, I don't know. I'd like to be optimistic. CeeDee Lamb should have caught a lot of balls in that game that he dropped. There certainly were points left on the table, but I will take it in stride. Next game, Bears at Lions, NFC North. Definitely injuries to talk about for this one. Start with the market. We kind of settled in here at Detroit -6.5, and the total in the 45.5, 46 range, depending on where you're betting it. So on the Chicago side, Kyler Gordon is still out. Slot corner, that's a big loss for them, especially against the Detroit Lions, who put Amon-Ra St. Brown in the slot quite a bit. They do get some reinforcements on defense. Jalen Johnson's back. TJ Edwards is back at middle linebacker. Detroit, we got to look at Taylor Decker's status today. My number on screen accounts for Taylor Decker being out. He may not be out. He's a true questionable, but he went 3 times DNP this week. Way more often than not, the player does not end up playing. Kirby Joseph is also questionable on the back end. So that could be a big blow to the Detroit Lions defense and offensive line, potentially in this game. This is another game I didn't do much with this week. I would say if you asked me, I like to assign confidence levels in my rating to each team. I've talked about this on the stream before, but I make a number on a game and I also assign a confidence level to it. I've been doing that for years. Chicago and Detroit, I actually have no idea what either of these teams is going to be this year. Chicago showed some flashes early against Minnesota, and then they stalled until late in the game. Caleb did not look good. His accuracy was bad. His CPOE was rough. The positive is Ben Johnson knows this Lions team inside and out, especially the offense. I think you can make, this is narrative street now. I think you can make an argument either way, right? You can make the argument that Ben Johnson knows Jared Goff so well, or you can make the argument that, the Lions know Ben Johnson so well. Choose your own narrative. For me, the negative for Chicago, the corners are thin again. Detroit is going to look far more comfortable at home in a much easier defensive matchup than the Green Bay Packers. But again, we'll want to keep an eye on Taylor Decker there. And we'll also want to keep an eye on how much the new offensive coordinator uses play action, because week 1 for Detroit, it was way down relative to the typical Ben Johnson rates. On the Bears side, there's a rushing matchup to exploit. Green Bay moved the ball, had a pretty good ground game against them. DeAndre Swift could be a factor here, both in the running game and the receiving game. But the problem with Chicago that I see right now is they need to string together 10 to 12 play drives. And that's really tough if Caleb's ball placement continues to be as bad as it was. So this feels like one where I can make a plausible case for either side. I didn't bet much in terms of props here. The only prop I bet is long gone, so I'm not going to give anything. But I would say definitely you're going to have to watch to see what the inactives look like for Detroit in this particular game. And I agree with Cottage's take. Ben Johnson can scheme. Caleb can't deliver. you could sense the frustration on the sidelines when they had open looks and Caleb just couldn't make the throws at all. All right. Buffalo at the New York Jets. Next game up. Been pretty vocal all week, as has a lot of our Forward Progress crew, about betting the Jets. And I think every single price that we've given out on the channel over the course of the week is going to end with some really good closing line value here. Buffalo's in the 5.5 point favorite range. Total has settled in at 47. So there's already a nice matchup for the Jets in this game, and I think it's even better with Ed Oliver being out on the defensive line for the Bills. Also some questionables in the secondary, Teron Johnson, Tre'Davious White. Keep an eye on those. For the Jets, Michael Carter is questionable, but he got a full practice in on Friday, so I think he's going to play. But it's been one-way money on the Jets. I agree with the direction. I don't think you probably have to set yourself like a cutoff and be like, okay, at this point, mark it at 5.5. Probably not the best to chase that number. But the thesis is pretty straightforward for this game. And that is the Bills are very light inside right now, and the Jets can mash the middle of the field with Breece Hall. Justin Fields threatens the edge. They have the QB run game. That combo really stressed the Bills defense last week with Lamar and Henry. And granted, the Jets version is not going to be as efficient as that, but it poses many of the same, gap headaches. It protects the Jets passing game because you get the linebackers cheating a little bit more. Maybe the corners sitting flat-footed. I like the new OC, Tanner Engstrand. He came over from the Lion, like his Lion-style concepts. They looked very functional. There's more motion in the offense. There's more misdirection. The Jets O-line looked great last week with a rookie right tackle, like just bullying guys off the line of scrimmage. So I am optimistic about the Jets offense. Josh Allen obviously has a path to success in every game. He leans into his legs. They could get James Cook going downhill against a lot of the looks that the Jets will pose in this game as well. So I don't think this is one of those where New York's defense completely shuts him down. But overall, I'm more inclined to believe that the Jets can potentially match scores in this one, especially with that Ed Oliver injury. So I think market looks right where it's settled directionally. Maybe still Jets. I wouldn't be racing to bet this at the new number. This total's interesting. It got bet only up, and I do understand that. But I also think that there's a path where both offenses might be hyper efficient on the ground, and this game still goes under. I could definitely see that happening. So I'll be interested to see that. Jets tight end Mason Taylor missed some time in practice with an ankle injury this week. He's going to play, but typically when I see stuff like that, and I already was directionally leaning towards the under on him, I'm more inclined to bet it at this point. So I took some Mason Taylor under on receptions. This one's expensive. You don't have to play it. I think I played numbers around like minus 140, but I would go all the way up to like minus 160 there. I'm also interested in some Braylon Allen alts in this game as well. He only had 6 carries for 9 yards in week 1. He's priced at 17.5. You could potentially just play over there. My theory being that they're going to be so run heavy that they'll rotate in Allen much more than they did in week 1. Just my thoughts on that one. I see a lot of people in the chat are alerting me to Trent Williams being active for San Fran. So that is good, at least from my perspective. Jay Jones, Morgan Moses is up. I can't tell if you meant to type in or out, so I'll just wait on that. It's not. I appreciate you trying to provide some information, but unfortunately, I don't know what that means. And I'd like to know what that means. In. Okay, perfect. So there we go. Yeah, like those Patriots money line prices. 150. Well, I mean, there's a 119 out there. 115s. I don't know. I try not to click on Sundays. I might make a mistake and click on Sunday. We're going to see. Seattle and Pittsburgh. I've gotten this game totally wrong this week. Talked about this a bit last Sunday night as well. Maybe I'm still too high on Seattle. Maybe I'm still too down on Pittsburgh. Maybe it's a combo of both. maybe the injury impacts are being processed in a different way. So Seattle, Devin Witherspoon, I doubt he's going to play today. That is a big blow to them. They're also missing a safety, Nick Emenwari, who's out in the secondary. So got some cluster injuries in the secondary. Pittsburgh does too. Pittsburgh's missing Joey Porter Jr., Deshaun Elliott, Malik Harrison, rotational linebacker, went to IR. Derek Harmon is out again. It's a lot of injuries on defense. And I don't know. I can't get to this number. I can't get to a full 3. I played some Seattle at a worse price earlier in the week. So even parsing through all this injury stuff now, I mean, it turns out it wasn't as bad as it could have been for Seattle based off of the midweek injury report. So for me, this is a trench-driven game. Like, Pittsburgh's run defense was destroyed in week 1. I think Seattle's run game under Clint Kubiak, they're going to slowly start shifting to building around Zach Charbonnet instead of Kenneth Walker. Wouldn't be surprised if it's more Charbonnet than Walker today. I think as long as Seattle stays on schedule here and they can get Sam Darnold living in manageable downs, you avoid the obvious, 3rd and 10 pass spots that can get him in trouble behind a shaky pass protection unit. I think that's the key. Don't fall behind the sticks. And I think they're perfectly capable of doing that. But on the other side, defensively, Seattle matches up fine with what Arthur Smith wants to do in Pittsburgh. Like, Arthur Smith is running a lot of these Warren, Gainwell, duo runs, play action, a lot of in-breakers with a bunch of different receivers. The Seahawks can be bullied at times, but they're fast defense. They tackle well. Even without Witherspoon, they can close space on slants and crossers. Yeah, I think maybe the Steelers might get 1 or 2 explosives here. Rodgers will give guys shots downfield. He'll look for pass interference. But I don't love their ability to consistently win against this Seattle defense. And all things considered, 3.5 at this point seems pretty rich. So, yeah, it's Sunday morning, huge markets. I can't get to the number. That's where I'm at. From a prop perspective, I played a little bit of DK Metcalf under receiving yards. I think, again, this is like the double narrative game. You can make the claim that Pittsburgh will try to get him more involved against his old team. You could also make the claim that Seattle will just try to shut him down completely because they don't want him to have a big game. But it does seem a little bit high in the upper 60s for DK Metcalf. It wasn't a big play for me by all means, but I think that was just a bit too high. All right. Just seeing if we get any more. Yeah, we got Witherspoon out for Seattle. That was known going into today. I don't know if this is true. Jair Alexander out for Baltimore. If someone can confirm that, that is completely off the radar if that happened. He didn't play well last week. He actually got targeted quite a bit. Cleveland's receivers are sneaky better than I think they're given credit for. Confirmed. So, yeah, the Jair Alexander trade, who knew that it's week 2 and he might already be missing a game? Inactive. Okay, Rams and Titans. Back and forth in market on this one for sure. Got some early Titans money. Rams, Titans, Rams. I think it's a pretty split game altogether. Settled in here at 5.5, total 41.5. So Rams O-line, there were some serious question marks. Steve Avila, the left guard, is not going to play, or at least he's extremely doubtful. But the right guard, Kevin Dotson, every beat writer was reporting he's week to week, and then he was taken off the injury report on Friday. That's just the state of NFL reporting at this point. But the O-line is not looking too bad. For Tennessee, I'm like key injuries on both lines, right? J.C. Latham, their right tackle, is out. I already don't rate the Titans O-line as high, and they're missing a tackle. Their nose tackle, Tavondre Sweat, one of the players who would have definitely capitalized on the injury to Steve Avila on the Rams offensive line, is also out as well. I slightly lean Rams at the current price. I played some Rams and under early in the week. There was probably 2 of the first 5 bets that I would have made this week, maybe even shorter than that. Though we're about at the point now where it's very marginal. I think Stafford looked fine last week. The offensive output wasn't there. They sputtered against a top-tier defense in the Texans. I ranked the Texans' defense very highly. Tennessee's is not that. Their corners can be attacked. Sean McVay can get Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams into like a lot of great yards after catch spots, especially on a lot of over routes. The asterisk here is obviously the Rams' interior line, and the Titans can still kind of wreck that with Jeffrey Simmons a bit. Also, the asterisk with the Rams at all times, I love Sean McVay as like, I like him a lot as a coach, but they tend to play very conservatively, especially in games where the opponent doesn't have a lethal offense necessarily. But I could see some interior pressure from the Titans. I could see some stalled red zone trips and some field goals. McVay does love to kick field goals as well. For the Titans, Cam Ward's box score was worse than the tape itself. He did have several drops. He had a big completion wiped out on a play where Callahan didn't challenge. He still generated some impressive throws, had a very big ADOT, average depth of target, but he also took too many sacks. He short-circuited drives. Against LA, without Latham, they're going to have to lean on the run game to carry them, because if Ward has those negative plays while trying to push it downfield, it's going to be a disaster for them. So I really think this comes down to, can the Rams win early downs with these 2 high shells, force Tennessee into like 3rd and longs. Tennessee will become one-dimensional. Pass rush takes off. I see a lot of paths to the Rams winning like an ugly game here. Something in like the 23-10, 20-10 type of scenario. Didn't do much in terms of props here as well. Definitely less props this week than in week 1. It was very marginal. I'll just throw this out there. I haven't played it, but I am looking at Tony Pollard under here. I think 66.5 might be a little bit too high. There is a scenario where the Rams really try to force Cam Ward to beat them, and we'll see. I don't know. Brandon says, I'm not sure Ward looked better than his stats last week. He looked pretty bad. Yeah, so just I'm not suggesting he looked good. Is obviously the Broncos defense, which is going to make a lot of quarterbacks look really bad. I definitely think he's got a lot of growing to do in the league, but I would be more optimistic against like a league average defense or below average defense for Cam Ward in the future. Like, I think there will be a decent buy spot against the right defense at some point. Okay, before we get to the late games, quick mid-show promo here for the rest of your NFL Sunday with Forward Progress. So tonight, when Sunday Night Football wraps up, you come back right here for the Sunday reset. It's myself, it's Clive Bixby. It's the same format as last year. It's a light recap of the day. Then we're going to look ahead to the early lines posted at FanDuel. I would argue this is probably the most valuable show we do here at Forward Progress, not because I'm on it, but because it's your best chance to get closing line value as we look ahead to the following games. Also, tomorrow night, we're going to have a Monday Night Football watch-along. That's going to be for Bucks Texans. Planning to go live around 6:45 Eastern time for that, so 15 minutes before kick. Towards the end of the game, I'll also be giving out props for Chargers Raiders for the second game as well. So that's tomorrow night. Forward Progress. I know there's 2 games. We are doing the first game live. Will says for the 17th time this show that the Sunday Night Spaces was awful last week. I get it. It's not for everyone. As Will, seems you didn't like it. I got a lot of good feedback from other people on that. That'll be intermittent over the course of the year. We're still trying to figure out Sunday nights as it pertains to what we're going to do going forward. I guess he didn't like that there were no picks or SGPs. Okay, I can understand that. If you're looking for picks, it was more of a commentary of the full day of football. But I've actually gotten more feedback, positive feedback about that. So anyways, I value it all. You can post it at any time. And we'll go from there. Denver, Indy. Okay. I don't really get this one either, to be honest with you. It's been like a one-way, I don't want to say flood of Indy money. It's not like we went through any key numbers or anything like that, but definitely market support for Indy. And it seems like there was a really, really bad injury report for the Colts late in the week and just no buyback on Denver, which is rather confusing to me. Denver is still without Dre Greenlaw. That's about it. Indy is without Letu on the defensive line, Laiatu Letu, Jalen Jones, Trevarius Ward. Those are three key defenders, right? My numbers lean Denver quite a bit, and I just don't believe the Colts injuries have been fully priced in. I don't. I mean, you lose a top pass rusher, two good corners. That's a brutal combination against Sean Payton's script where it's very spacing heavy, right? Bo Nix, I'm not a Bo Nix guy. I'm really not. I think he was way overrated towards the end of last year, but he doesn't need to be spectacular. He just needs to get the ball out, take the easy throws, let his wide receiver depth work against a secondary that's missing starters. As if he's clean, I don't know. I don't see the huge Indy upside. And again, like this is so weird to me. Like you think of Miami, New England, right? Miami gets blown out. Market buys Miami for the next week coming off the blowout win. You'd figure the opposite would happen with Indy, where people are looking to sell them. Plus, they have a bad injury report, and it just hasn't happened. And defensively, I love the Broncos. Like, they've consistently suffocated bad quarterbacks in the past few years. Daniel Jones coming off a near-perfect outing. Well, I mean, that's the Dolphins' defense. Like, that's not this. Denver's rush packages are very disciplined. They have a top shutdown corner that's going to let them play with leverage against Michael Pittman. Shane Steichen is terrific. This matchup is a big step up in difficulty. So I'm not here. I like Denver. I played some Denver. I might add more Denver. Famous last words. Let's add some more on Sunday. I don't know. Someone's got to tell me what I'm missing here. Yeah, you know what? Maybe we'll just cut this clip immediately and play it on Sunday night when the Colts win by 14. But I don't get it, honestly. I really, I'm at a loss of how I could reach this number in this game. Props wise, for these late games, the 4 o'clock window, as of now, I really have very little in props going. So this one, almost nothing. Redacted bet the Colts. It was great meeting you in person in Vegas, Redacted. I mean, you told me you bet the Colts, but if you could give me a few reasons why, that might also, maybe that might also help me understand this. Shane Steichen, Coach of the Year would be nice. I do have a ticket there. So, yeah, maybe this is the one that that we would do. Okay, Carolina, Arizona. As I want to keep working through these games here so I can answer a few questions at the end. Looks like Ike Ekwonu will be back. He had the appendectomy a couple weeks ago. I think that's big for the Carolina offense. He's still questionable, but expected to play. Injuries for Arizona, not much to speak about. Will Hernandez probably be back on the O-line, give them some depth there as well. My numbers here, they do like Carolina, but this is a low-confidence game for me. I was not able to bet the Panthers at any point this week, and the over got snapped up pretty early as well, so this is a pretty quiet game for me. There's obviously survivor implications for a lot of people here as well. I do think the Panthers left some points on the field last week. The offense sucked, but they had 4 drives ending inside the 40. That produced 0 points for them. So the final score was a little bit misleading. I think getting Ekwonu back on the offensive line, their left tackle was a disaster last week, had a very rough day. That'll stabilize protection a little bit more. It'll unlock a little bit more outside zone, maybe some bootleg stuff for Bryce Young as well. Arizona's front can also be run on. The Cards just gave up some easy yards to Alvin Kamara. Chuba Hubbard's got a path to efficiency here. But tough. Like Bryce Young did not... He looked like the Bryce Young that was horrible to start last season as well. So trying to figure out what his production will be going forward, that's a problem. Another problem, Carolina's pass rush is like bottom tier. The secondary is not good. Kyler Murray didn't look good last week. He was listed on the Saturday injury report with an illness. He ended up playing. I don't know how much the illness contributed to his play overall, but I'm sure it had at least some effect. Marvin Harrison Jr., Trey McBride, these are serious matchup problems. If Carolina has to drop extra bodies into coverage, they are going to get torched on the ground in chunk runs by James Conner and Trey Benson. So I think Arizona will control the script at home. I guess I'm maybe a little bit more optimistic about the Panthers offense this week than last week, but not enough where I was willing to get involved. Shortest quarterback matchup of all time. Probably have to find a Doug Flutie. I'm sure Doug Flutie played a game where I don't actually know what Doug Flutie's height is, but I saw him in person a few times when he played in the CFL, and he was quite short. So I would actually love to know the answer to that. I don't know if someone wants to type that into AI now and see if we could get the shortest quarterback matchups of all time. But this would certainly be up there. Okay, no props there either. Eagles and Chiefs, game of the day, certainly Super Bowl rematch. I wish I had more of an opinion, but I really don't. Dallas Goedert is out for Philly. I like Dallas Goedert a lot. I've always thought he's been one of the more underrated players in the league. Very reliable. Will Shipley as well out there. Kick returning, things like that might change a little bit on special teams, but nothing that's a huge concern. For KC is where you have the concerns. At this point, it's all known, and you would assume it's priced into market. I mean, I'm kind of exactly on market for the side with the Eagles as a small favorite. Total, slightly leaning to the under, but Rashee Rice, Jalen Royal, Xavier Worthy all out. The issue that I have with the potentially playing an under here, 47, I can buy that. I definitely wouldn't do it at the 46.5, but Philly does tend to lean into attacking the weaknesses of the opposing defense, and the Chiefs' defense is better versus the run than the pass. That continued in week 1. We might see an Eagles game plan that is very similar to the Chargers, which is a very throw-first plan. Get A.J. Brown involved early. I mean, they have decisive advantages against the secondary. We saw that in the Super Bowl. The concern would be pressure. KC can still heat you without blitzing. And the Eagles' O-line, Landon Dickerson's going to play. He was having, hurt his back last week. He was kind of on the sidelines for a lot of that game. KC is going to have to find a way to get pressure in this game, which they didn't get in the Super Bowl. Their offense, though, is pretty held together right now by sequencing. And I think that's very dangerous. Like, you're asking Hollywood Brown, Tyquan Thornton to win for you. And, Travis Kelce's going to be your possession guy over the middle. I think they try for some explosives like they did last week, but I'm not sure that they're going to be there. And down-to-down consistency when you don't have great playmakers, that's a real problem, particularly against a deep Eagles front that can, really rot your interior. So tough game for me, slightly under, don't got much going on here. Mostly just going to be enjoying this one as a fan. Not even many prop looks on this one as well. Does seem like the forward progress chat is pretty Eagles heavy over the course of this week. So we'll see how that goes for everyone there. Personally, Cowboys fan, tough to cheer for the Eagles, but I do think if I had to pick the game, I think a lot of the narrative stuff, the revenge game factors and stuff are blown out of proportion as actually one of the sharp sports books right now just took a big bet on KC in real time. So we'll see. Atlanta, Minnesota, our final game here Sunday night. Not much concern for Atlanta. Darnell Mooney's back. Drake London's going to play. They're missing some depth receivers. So I could potentially see if Drake London can't finish. There's some live betting angles here because Jamal Agnew's out, Casey Washington is out. But it's Minnesota that is very, very battered going into this week. Christian Darrisaw is out again. They lose Andrew Van Ginkel, which to me is a huge blow on the defense, along with Blake Cashman, who's been put on IR. Looks like Harrison Smith, dealing with some personal issue, is out again. Jeff Okuda as a depth option at corner is out. I took a bunch of Falcons this week. At 3.5, I mean, it's moved to 3 even at some books right now, like significant move to the Falcons. But it's Minnesota's defense missing this many players changes how Brian Flores can call that defense, right? Especially without Van Ginkel and Cashman in the middle and Harrison Smith. Like, he's got to pick his spots to pressure rather than live in it for the entire game. And even when he does pressure, Michael Penix has handled the blitz pretty well. It's a small sample, but even if you go back to college trends, he's always been tough to sack relative to pressure. So if the Falcons can keep him clean, give him just enough time, they can stay balanced with some running game as well. I think there's good opportunity here for Atlanta to move the ball. Other side, J.J. McCarthy, listen, I don't know what J.J. McCarthy is going to be. His fourth quarter was great. The first 3 quarters still happened also as well. He's talented. The crowd's going to be behind him, but no Darisaw again. Puts more pressure on them to run the ball effectively. If Atlanta can get Minnesota into like some must-pass scripts, I think the Falcons upgraded their defensive line enough in the offseason that they have enough juice to bother J.J. McCarthy here. So I'm pretty much right at a field goal here. There's still some 3.5s left on the board. Expensive. I don't hate that overall for Sunday Night Football. But yeah, that's a tough game because, again, you just got one team that's extremely battered. I will say this. With regards to the Vikings offense, a lot was said in preseason from Kevin O'Connell, plus all the beat writers and beat reporters for Minnesota, of how they would be very conservative as an offense out of the gate this year. And we 100% saw that against Chicago on Monday Night Football. Things didn't really open up until the game script warranted that it gets opened up. I do buy that that's going to happen again going forwards. I think that they're really going to try to shelter McCarthy as much as possible, lean on the running game, lean on short passes, stuff like that. So, yeah, that plays into where I'm at with my numbers for this game as well. So that's it for the Sundays. Really quickly for the Monday games, I'll just cover them very, very briefly. But I don't have too many thoughts here. Tampa Bay, Houston, I played some under. Luke Goedeke is questionable on the offensive line for Tampa. If he ends up not playing tomorrow, they are optimistic about him playing. But if he doesn't end up playing, that's going to be a disaster with both tackles out. It really, against that defense, my worry in actually betting the under in this game is actually defensive touchdowns, because I think there's a path to success where Houston is just all in the backfield all game. The problem is I just don't trust the Texans offense enough just yet either. Maybe this is a better week because they're not facing the Rams defensive front. Vita Vea will be like a monster. Todd Bowles will do some things to disrupt that offense, but they don't really have the quality of pass rush necessarily. So tough game overall, but I am on the under there. Chargers in Las Vegas, again, Brock Bowers' status is up in the air. That's one that would move the needle for sure. I played over in this game. I can no longer advise the over. I mean, we see some books at 47 right now, and with the potential of Bowers maybe not playing, I just can't get there. I will say I think Denzel Perryman is a very underrated loss for the Chargers defense. He's a very good tackler. We've seen some pretty drastic on-off splits over the course of his career with whatever team he's played for, wherever he's gone. So that's something as well. Nothing on the side for me there. And you know what? As it stands right now, I'm pretty much on market. Brandon says Bowers is likely in. Yes. Okay, let's do some anytime touchdowns. I'll do these on the fly, actually. Let me just pull up I'm going to pull up my BetStamp Pro odds screen right now and go touchdown market, and we can see what we got going on right now. Just for today. So I don't got much in this market, and I rarely play these. I mostly do them for the primetime games just to enjoy it a little bit more. I do like Caleb Williams, 5-1, anytime touchdown at FanDuel. I generally think that his legs are going to be used quite a bit around on the goal line as well. So Caleb Williams is one that I would play. Let's see what else we got going on here potentially. If this is still on the board, I'm just going to double check that this is real. But I mentioned earlier that Mason Taylor for the Jets was coming in with a pre-existing injury. which he is, ankle, he's probably fine. But the backup tight end there is Jeremy Ruckert. And at FanDuel, he was 19-1. 19-1 right now on Jeremy Ruckert. I would take that as a flyer, definitely. That's one that I like out there. And let's see if I could find you guys one more. I'm trying to bet these in real time as well right now. So I know this is very riveting content, watching me look for bets. Just got to make sure that the numbers I give out are real. This would be contrary to what I hate doing this because I'm on the opposite side of the game. Roman Wilson is the Steelers' third receiver. He's 18-1 at FanDuel. I like that as a long shot as well. I think you might see some bracket coverage on DK Metcalf in this game. Again, this is just rooted in my opinion. I don't know that that's confirmed, but Roman Wilson I think could stand to benefit from that a lot at 18-1. So those are long shots. Go light with them. Obviously, two of them are significant long shots in the 18-1 range. Caleb Williams is 5-1. And those will be the three that I give out for the stream today. Joey Sanchez says Drake May. So just really quickly pull up my pricing on May. I make Drake May fair line of plus 474 to score a touchdown. So I don't think I could get there at the current prices, but don't hate that, I would say. I mean, it's relative to price. So I got to be honest with you, Joey. I don't like it. You can call me out tonight when Drake May scores a touchdown. Okay. Appreciate everyone in here. I've run a couple minutes long. I'm going to wrap it again. Big thanks to everyone who hung out and jumped into the chat today. If you got value, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and even share, or just let your friends know for next week, 11 a.m. It's pretty easy to put this on in the background as well while you're eating breakfast, doing whatever the hell you're doing on Sunday mornings. So please support the show as much as you possibly can. A shout out to our presenting sponsor, FanDuel. Special thanks to my producer behind the scene, Barbara Alberts, for keeping everything running very smoothly. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, everyone. I'll see you right back here on Forward Progress for the Sunday reset right after Sunday Night Football tonight. Peace out. Good luck with your bets.